All right. Okay, so I'll talk now and just wait for everyone to join in. Okay, so today I will be painting some watermelons using watercolor. Okay, so something easy, something refreshing for summer. And it's July 4th, so happy 4th to everyone. And how will you guys celebrate? Who knows? Do you like, I think you like to have fireworks. Okay, so meanwhile, I'm using a huge pad, so I'm going to divide it into several areas and paint a different theme on each one because this month, July, is World Watercolor Month. So we'll be doing watercolor themed works for the month of July. So if you guys have any requests, let us know. And we also will look at the prompts for the World Watercolor Month and see what we can do with the prompts. Okay, so today it's watermelons because they're easy. They're quite easy, but they're lovely to look at when painted, and you can do it. Anybody can do this. Okay, so I'm going to flip the camera down now so that you'll see my desk, and let's start by sketching our watermelons and then painting them. Okay, so let me just flip this around. Okay, there you go. And then I'll flip this so that you're seeing the right way. Okay, and adjust the light as well. So like I mentioned, I'm using a huge pad. So I'm going to have to divide this because I'm not going to use the whole pad just for watermelons. So I'm going to divide it in half. Okay, let's see. So you can, of course, use your ruler to measure it just to be even more exact. So this is a, let's see, this is a 12 by 16. Okay, 12 by 16. So we have 8. Okay, so let's measure that. So this is 300 GSM cold pressed watercolor paper, 100% cotton. Okay, so let me just measure 8. And then another 8 right here. And then divide it. All right. And then I'll just tape this part down here so that I don't go across the line. And even if I do, I won't dirty the paper immediately. Okay, just to be on the safe side. You can even cover it with another piece of paper if you like. Okay, so the nice thing about these easy watermelons is that you don't have to do any extreme pre-sketching. Okay, so you just decide what kind of slices you like. In my case, I'm going to have, okay, you draw a triangle, basically. But instead of a straight line, you do it curved. Okay, and that's it. So this is when you're viewing your slice straight on. You can also do ones that are a bit to the side, so you can do the same thing. Triangle, and then have the extra. Okay, so you're like viewing it at an angle. The same thing with the curved end, and of course you will have another curved section. Okay, so now you have your watermelon slice straight on, and then you also have it angled a bit to the side. Okay, just clean up a bit, but you're going to be using bright colors, so even though you did draw it a bit dark, it's not going to be very visible. The paint will cover it. Okay, but just try to keep a light hand so that even if you drew it too dark, it's not dark that you can't erase it. Okay, and of course you can also do watermelons, not just this slice. You can do a bigger slice as well, half, let's say. Let's change the angle. So we'll try to play around with the placement. Okay, let's do it here. Okay, so a half circle, basically. And again, just erase the extra lines. Just really relax when you do this. Don't grip your pencil too hard. That's the trick. If you have a hard time sketching, it's probably because you're too tense. You're probably gripping your pencil too hard. But if you just try to be looser with it, your strokes will come in easier. And you'll also not end up with lines that are too dark or too hard. Okay, so for now we have the 3. So you can always add more later if you want. Okay, so don't stress about it. In fact, I will move this a bit down because it's too near the one on top. So try to plot it around so that you have nice spaces in between your slices. Do you guys like to eat watermelons? I think this is also great frozen. Okay, so right now we already have 3, so we can actually start coloring. Okay, so quite easy. I'll just use colors from 2 palettes. Okay, let's start with Allegro. Okay, so Allegro has the warm colors, so you're already quite ready to do the watermelon. I'm going to use the crimson color right here because it's the perfect red for watermelons. Okay, so let me just get my water to the side. You can have your mixing plate if you want. Okay, so just have it ready, unlike me looking for mine. Okay, let me just use this palette. I can't find my other mixing plates. Sometimes that happens when I cleared my desk. I forgot where I kept things, when I've rearranged. Okay, so I'll use this right here on the side. Okay, so again, I have my red, and then we shall mix our green. So for our green, we'll just mix our yellow and blue, and try to get the green that we want for our watermelon. Okay. So just get a good size brush. Number 6 to 8 is a good size for this paper. If you're painting bigger, then you'd probably want bigger brushes, or if you're painting smaller, then you're also going to need smaller brushes. Okay, so it always depends on how big your paper is and how big your painting. Okay, so again, we'll first mix our green. So using our yellow. Okay, let's get some of this lemon yellow. So if you have already green, then you can also use that. If you need to change the color of your green, it's either you just need to add yellow or blue or red to it. If you find that your green is too intense, too saturated, then you just add a bit of red and it will tone down your green. Okay, so let's get some phthalo blue. Okay, so as you can see, you have a green right here. So it's a bit bright. Okay, let's add more yellow. And then a bit more blue. And again, if you find that it's too bright, then you can always test it out first on your paper, on your scratch paper. Let's see, where's mine? Okay, like I said, cleaned up my desk, so now things are everywhere. Okay, so here is the green. Okay, so I it's a bit too pale, so I'm going to add a bit of more blue to it. Okay, so you'll do your color mixing first so that you have your color down before you use it. Okay, so I added a bit of red just to tone it down a bit. Let's see if it's okay. So now it's too much, too dark, so I'm going to add yellow again. Okay, so we'll start with our green, okay, down here. So remember, this is just our first layer, so we'll start with the bottom. So we'll add a deeper green later. Okay, and then I like to use water at the edges to let the colors flow slightly and move upwards. If you look at your watermelon, it's not green and suddenly red. It transitions from the deep green here and becomes a pale green, and then it becomes red. Okay, so there's this transition point, and we'll do that now. We'll leave this very pale green right here, where the red will also transition a bit later. Okay, let's add here. Okay, so that's what we want. Okay, let's do all the greens. Again, you can clean up your lines if you feel like they're too dark or too dirty. But if you're like me and you're not bothered, just go ahead. So here, not too thick. And again, add water to your brush and to the edge of your line. And pull it upwards. Again, for that transition point. Okay, don't worry, you can always add more green later, which we will do. And lastly here, let me just fix this shape a bit. Okay, so green. So now this is a half circle. And again, not too thick. You can always also do another slice that's an angle like this. Very easy. Watermelons are quite easy and very fun. And the colors are perfect, red and green, so they're the perfect complement. Okay, so I just had enough green for the 3 slices. Okay, and again, dip your brush in the water just to extend the green. Brush it across the whole edge of your green strip to also soften the edge. And then whatever green is left from dipping, you just pull it up for the transition area. Hi, Joe. Glad you're able to join. Got some break from all your projects. Okay, so pull it up more than you think you'll need because you'll be covering it anyway with the transition of the red. So you want enough space for the red and green to sort of overlap, but you still have that light area. Okay, and that's the green part. Well, the first layer, but quite easy. Okay, so now let's go and move to the red. Again, you can use a crimson is a nice color. It's a perfect red, but the other set that I have also has a wonderful red, quite similar, Purell red. Okay, so if I use them both, just so you can see, I'll just Okay, so crimson, nice bright red, and then pyrrole red, nice bright red. So practically the same. Okay, so you want a red like this always as one of your foundation reds. You want a red on the neutral side. Okay, so let's use the one that we have in our Allegro palette. Okay, so crimson right here. So this one, no mixing needed. Okay, so just prepare enough. So we're going to start with a very saturated red from the tip. Okay, so again, we have our intense red here, and as we move here, it will be thinned down and it will blend in this area. Okay, so let's start that. Again, from the tip. So you want this really intense. And you can also do a wet and wet. Okay, so let's do first wet and dry, and on the other side, let's do wet and wet. Okay, so what I do is I start intense, and then I just dip my brush in the water to add water to the pigment in the brush, and that already makes the pigment lighter, but not too much. And again, dip again. So every now and then, you just need to dip. And I actually like to do a more textured stroke when I do this because it's perfect for the texture of the watercolor, of the watermelon, sorry. Okay, so now I'm going to like really rinse the color from my brush and just get the color from here. And let it overlap the pale green that I did earlier. Okay, and there you go. You have your really cute, really awesome watermelon. So again, start with a very saturated color at the top, and then slowly dip your brush every now and then in the water to let the paint become diluted slowly until you rinse everything from your brush, and when you're in this area, and just pull a little bit of the color downwards so you get this nice gradient that's quite textured. Okay, so now let's go and do the wet and wet. Okay, so earlier we did a wet and dry, which is usually my go-to thing because I'm quite controlling, and it's very easy to control when you're doing wet and dry. But wet and wet will also give you wonderful variations with how the color moves, and it also gives you nice surprises. So it's also fun. Okay, so if you're not controlling like me, you would probably enjoy this more. Okay, so just wet the area where you're going to be adding your color. Okay, and just halfway through the green, the pale green. Okay, so wet it enough that the color will travel nicely, so a glossy finish. Sometimes your paper will absorb really well, so you have to add more. Okay, so just observe. So same color, crimson. Okay, again, start at the tip. You can add more red if you feel like it's too pale. I'm going to add more because the wetness is diluting it quite a bit. Okay, and I'm not going to dip yet. I'm still going to allow more intense color. So I'm using more pigment now because there's also more water because of the wet and wet application. Okay, now I'm going to dip, make it lighter. Dip again. and rinse. Okay, so I'm rinsing as much as I can off the brush. Okay, and there you have it. You have 2 slices, and you see the texture is really perfect. So you don't need to do a smooth application of your brush strokes here. You actually want the texture. Okay, I personally prefer more texture in all my works, whether oil or watercolor or gouache or acrylic. So again, it also depends on your preference for other things. But when you're doing textured subjects like the watermelon, you actually want your brush strokes to be visible. Okay, so wet on dry, wet on wet. So later on, we'll just add white lines just to show the angle. Okay, but for now, I like it. Okay, so again, I'm going to go back to my wet and dry, my go-to thing, but I've shown you already how you can do it both ways. Okay, so let's go back to wet and dry for this one. Okay, so we'll start with our intense color here at the top, but not the whole slice, just here to here, and then follow the shape. Okay, so follow the shape of your cut right here. Okay, and then add a dip, just dip your brush, not the whole brush, just the tip of it in the water. Okay, and pull your color downwards slowly, fading it. If you find that you went too light too soon, you can always add more pigment, like so. Just drop it in. Again, texture is not bad when you do this. Okay, so again, just dip your brush and now just rinse it off completely. So almost no pigment on your brush. So you can do a really pale transition for this part. Okay, so don't cover the whole green. You want some of the pale green to be visible before it goes into the darker green. Okay, so here are your 3 watermelons. Very easy, right? Very easy, but looks really good because I really believe it's the green and red is just anytime you use contrasting colors or complementary colors, they immediately look nice. Yes. Okay, so that's it really. The next thing that you do is you add the what do you call this? The seeds. Okay, so you add seeds and you'll be done with your watermelon. Okay, but as usual, I'm not yet happy, so I'm going to add a bit more green to my green here just to darken it a bit. Okay, so again, let's go back to our lemon yellow. Okay. Okay, so lemon yellow is bright, but if you use a warmer yellow, you're not going to get a bright green. But sometimes it's too bright, so you just add red and it'll tone it down. Okay, as usual, you can always test your colors just so you're sure that it's the color that you want before you add it to your paper. Okay, so here I'm going to, because the bottom part is visible, so I'm going to add the texture of the watermelon. So it's not like one green, right? When you look at your watermelon, it's dark, and then there's a jagged stripe of lighter in the middle. So I'm adding that now because this is from an angle where you see the bottom. Okay, and then here I'm just going to darken the edge. So just adding another layer, but not too dark. And here too, make sure it's dry. I always make that mistake. I press my hand against. Okay, just so you can see the skin of the watermelon. Okay. All right, and looks better. Okay, so now it's seeds time. So you need to mix a black for that. Okay, you can use a black, but you might find that also a bit too matte. So what I do is I use my black and then I add a dark blue to it. That's my go-to. You can also mix your own black if you don't have your black, so don't worry. Okay, you can also try to mix if you have burnt umber and ultramarine blue. They make a nice black, or a simulation of black. Okay, so let's see. I have black, and then I'll add a little bit of violet to it. Sometimes I find that the black is just too flat. Okay, so you can of course draw in your seeds first if you're not if you want to be more controlled in how you place them. But let's say I'm just going to wing it and just add them here and there. You don't need to add a lot. But try to space them out and not too much clustered. Okay, and let's go here. Okay, so you want a teardrop shape for the seeds. Okay, and since this is at an angle, this is from the side, so your teardrop will be even slimmer on the side. I'm also adding here so it doesn't look weird that there are no seeds on the side. Okay, and then also here, of course, so don't worry if they're not perfect shaped. Just think of it as the seeds are a bit covered. Okay, so if you find that it's too dark for you, you can just go over it carefully with another wet brush. So for example, you think, oh, it's a bit too dark, or I want it to be a bit lighter on some seeds, so you can just lift it with your brush and just wipe it on your paper towel. Okay, so you can do that for areas that you feel like you want lighter. All right, so now let me add one here that's sort of hidden. Okay. You can always take a step back and look at it from a distance. I mean, from a bit farther than, while you're working on it, so that you can get a better look at things. Okay, so we wait for it to dry, and you can add the reflection on the seed. Okay, so I'm going to use, you can use a white gel pen or a white gouache or white acrylic. So just if you use acrylic, of course, you won't be able to wet it again. So if you don't mind that, then you can use white acrylic. But if you want it to be really wettable for just in case you still want to work on it, then you use white gouache. Okay, so just if you have, it's also when if you're doing watercolor, it's always a good thing to have white gouache, because you can use it for highlights and waves and all the other little whites that you don't want to paint around, but you just want to paint after. Then white gouache is really useful. Okay, so I have some white gouache here straight from the tube. I'm not going to dilute it. I'm just going to get straight from the tube and add the reflection. So choose a side where your light's coming from. So let's say it's on this side, so my highlights will be on this side. Okay, oh wait, it's not yet dry, so let me just dry it with my blow dryer because it's going to smear everything otherwise. Okay, let me just turn this on. Okay, so you want it to be dry before you add your highlights, especially if you're going to use a gel pen, because it won't work as well. Okay, so again, just gouache straight from the tube because you want it to be a very thick white, so you don't need to dilute it. So adding just the white to your black seeds makes it look less flat. Okay, and then let's do it for all the seeds. So I'm just using a detail brush so that I can control the size of my white. So switch to your small brushes if you're doing this, so that you don't cover the entire black. And here are the sides, also much smaller. Again, this is at an angle. And finally, for the last one up here, so watermelon shakes are really wonderful for summer, very refreshing, feels light as well. And there you have it. So you have your 3 slices of watermelons. Very easy, very quick to do, but very looks nice. Oh wait, I'm going to add the line here. So this one, I'm going to dilute the gouache a bit, just a bit. Oh, apparently had some color in this brush that I didn't rinse properly. So let me just remove that. Again, adding a bit of water to the gouache. So I'm going to add just lines just to show that this is an angle. So I'm just doing the broken line thing. So it's just a suggestion. Okay, nothing too intense. Just to suggest that this is from an angle. Okay, and there you have it. I think I really am finished now. Okay, so let me just bring it closer so you can see it. Okay, so these are my 3 slices. You can of course cover the whole page, which I will later, but these are the different watermelons that you can do. You can do the flat slice, you can do the angled a bit like this, and then you can do the half circle slice. You can also do the whole watermelon if you want, but this looks yummy. The red and green looks perfect together. Okay, so I hope you try this out and do share your watermelons so that our page is filled with yummy watercolor, which is like watercolor watermelons, which is perfect for summer. Summery fruits are just looking at them makes you feel better with the heat and all. Okay, so that's it. So I'm going to flip back to my face now. So let me just flip things around as usual. Okay, so all right. Thank you everyone for joining me. Okay, so this is July is World Watercolor Month. So I'm going to look at the prompts and see for which days I like to paint something specifically, and I'll share it with you guys. But you can also check out, there are prompts for every day, each day of July because of World Watercolor Month. So let's celebrate watercolor together and share anything watercolor with a group so that people will be inspired to share as well. Okay, so don't be shy to share your works. We love to see them. So this is my watercolor, okay, watermelons, and I hope you try it out. Okay, thanks everyone for joining me, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.